Hello, DrGiggy for a new video. This one is NL100 and it's talking about a lot about initiative and some random thoughts out of my head and some nice two-tabling and some other stuff too. So stay tuned for Martin Fournier-Giguère. Hey guys, Jiggy once again, Martin Fournier-Giguère for a small video, two tables, NL100 this time. Kind of same principle as my last video, which was at NL50, but I decided to make it just a bit higher this time. And I talked a lot last time about hand reading, and this time, like I said in my last video, I'm gonna try to focus a lot on something that has been overlooked a lot, I think, in theory stuff, and I've never really actually read anything about it. It's just some stuff out of my mind that I want to talk to you about, and it is initiative. All the impact that having the initiative in a hand of poker and in a session basically makes for you. All the good that try hands to throw in a couple of words about exactly that. I've been playing for a couple of minutes now, and it was about time that the video started because I already dumped like a couple of buy-ins, like totally dumped. I don't know why I just decided to suck and dump a couple of hundos. Table on the left is deep, right is non-deep, just some preference. And that's about it. I have a read on that guy that he's a pretty bad, pretty fish. I had a read that this guy was a reg, but it's now no longer the same guy, so forget it, just switch. That's pretty much it as far as read goes. Here, pretty interesting spot right off the bat. I think I'm gonna fold this one actually, just because he makes it so big on the river, and just because he timed a bit before checking on the turn. Just like someone that just hit his fourth straight, like, oh, like, I've got a strike, I don't know what to do. Should I bet? And then decide to check the turn, check, and then he goes so big in the river that he pretty probably has it most of the time, in my opinion. I think the rest of the end was really standard. I decided to go 4x instead of 3x pre-flop, just because I knew it was not folding much after limping a small blind, from what I saw in a couple of earlier hands. Uh, I could have called the river if I did not have that read, because you could have had basically, if we go straight from a hand reading point without any other read, could have had a missed flush draw. Like, I think he's pretty much calling with any two suited cards pre-flop, so he's gonna have a lot of missed clubs, I think. But with the other reads that I acquired, I think it's a good fold, and one that you should make at home, guys. So yeah, a couple of words like I said about initiative, uh, because people often, it might sound, I'm gonna try to make that sound good, okay? Uh, it's really, like I said, thoughts coming out of my head, so I hope it's gonna come out good. Uh, but people often refer, when they talk about poker hand, as to how well like your range plays against somebody else's range. Like, they define like their range as pre-flop. Like, okay, don't. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna come back on that. that was going nowhere anyway. I'm gonna go small. I think turn river. No need to go too big. I think I might make him fold even like a weak ace. And if I go small, I think he calls with pretty much all his jacks. He's just that bad. So yeah. And if I go super small and he has a 10, he's gonna make me know it by the river for sure. For sure. Here, being that deep, I think I prefer dunk leading and then try to bet 3-bet that. Even readless, just easier to play than like check raising, but betting the turn, because a lot of turns here are gonna either cut my action or give him the best hand with straight or flush 200 deep. That's something you have to worry about. Now I pretty much have the nuts Oh, shit, I would I wanted to bet bigger. I was just talking about the other end. I just wanted to make it 25 and forget that I was laying a hand on the right. So I'm gonna go here to pretty big actually. Try to make it look like I have a draw. You kind of raise without even thinking. And 7 is not that good of a card. He could have Jack 10, but I think he's gonna have something like an overpair a lot. You raise the flop super fast, like someone's like, okay, I have aces, he dunks, I'm gonna raise. So that's it. So I should have turned, obviously. Calls with juice drift spades, which is totally horrible. Oh my god, that was horrible. Ah, Jesus. So this guy is bad. Now we know it. We totally know that. And his play is just awful. And yep, that's it. So, and I did want to bet a bit bigger. And like I said, when I go small, you pretty much always calls with a jack. So that's good. Could have made it like 25 on the river there. But I was talking about the other hand. That hand actually. I think, like I said, I think bet 3 betting is good that deep. Even if I don't have a read, now that I have a read that he's like raising and then calling a super like big re-raise with that big, but pretty big with juice truth spades, which is like the worst play I've ever seen. My play's pretty much perfect, but I still prefer leading there, being 200 big blinds deep, because if I check raise and then turn comes a spade, I don't really know what I want to do. Against competent player, that is, I would have gone broke against this guy, I guess. If I check raise turns come like that, or often I'm gonna check raise, and I think I do look a bit stronger by check raising to some player, to an average player, I think. So I like my play there. Coming back to initiative, yeah, people often refer as two hands as how well is my range doing against his range, but they forget to talk like when deciding to, let's say, cut off raise. You're in the big line with king queen, and there are like two way of approaching this one. You can re-raise, and people say like, oh, it's like turning your hand into a bluff because it's not that good, or like jack queen or something like that. When other people say you should not do that because your hand dominates like a lot of his pre-flop raising range, but is getting crushed by a 3-bit calling range. So you should not re-raise stuff like king, jack, queen, and stuff like that out of the lines. But the truth is, against a lot of players, re-raising is just better because of initiative. It's gonna make you win so many pots. By that I mean, every single time first that both players flop nothing, and that's good. I decided to make that video at 50 at NL100 actually, because that is truer at smaller limits. The higher you go in limits, the less true it becomes, because people learn to play without the initiative. But the smaller you are, poorer people are without the initiative. And if you ask any guy who's like at, I don't know, NL100, NL200 and is struggling to move up, and you ask them what is their their biggest league, the thing that they find the most difficult in poker, a lot of them are gonna answer you playing when I don't have initiative, playing out of position from the blinds and stuff like that. So at these limits, people tend to suck at that. So gaining the initiative is even more important. So yeah, like I said, either pre-flop or by trading, or just raising, or just like min re-raising for that instance and stuff like that. It does so much good because, like I said, okay, when both people flop nothing, you tend to win the hand. Like the guy you see bets against player that is just playing super passive, just like waiting to flop at least something to play back another player. You're gonna win a lot of like small / medium pots if no one's ever playing back at you if they don't flop anything. Because truth is, in a poker, it normally goes like raise, call, and then c bet fold at these stakes, at stakes that like people don't play back that much post flops on the flop or on the turn. And the other thing is, people just don't flop that much. Most of the time it's raise, call, and both people have nothing. And who's gonna win the pot when both people have nothing? Well, it's the guy most of the time who has the initiative. That is true if your opponent flops a little something too. Like you flop nothing at all, let's say only 2 overcards. Your opponent flops bottom pair. Most of the time with the initiative you can c-bet, receive a call, and then 2-barrel on a lot of boards and receive a fold there, or hit one of your outs that is super disguised, or anything else, or just hit something, try to get it to showdown or whatever. You just control the action basically, and it makes it so much easier for you to play and so much tougher for your opponent to play, because they don't control anything. They often check to you and hope that you do what they want you to do, but that's often not what's happening. Yeah, what I wanted to say too is that you, sorry about that, you are a lot tougher to read, and people have a harder time putting on exact ranges. Just an like quick example out of my head right now. You get 3-bet, let's say you raise from the button, one of the 3-bets you decide to call with like medium pocket pair, and flop comes, I don't know, 10, 7, deuce, rainbow. Your opponent c-bets, you have 8, you decide to call, and then turn is a jack, I don't know, and he bets again. Now he has a lot of bluffs in his range, he has a lot of maiden in his range, and the truth is, your hand is way more face up than his, thus making his decisions a lot easier than you, and make like giving him a better time, like making it so much more easy for him to put pressure on you. Yep. What I wanted to say. That's pretty much it. Like any card that falls when you have the initiative and you are like barreling off, let's say you raise pre-flop and you bet the flop, and opponent calls, turn is like an overcard like a queen, and you bet again, you could have that queen. While in the calling range of your opponent, that queen is often not present at all. So you're giving off a lot less information about your hand. Truth is, when you are pretty aggressive and you raise a lot of hands and you 3-barrel a lot, by the river, it's so tough to put you on an exact range of hands, because you could basically have pretty much any 2 cards. I'm gonna take myself for example. When I do 3-barrel, pretty fucking tough to say, okay, he has a straight there, or he always has top pair or something like that, or a middle pair, which is not true when I'm in a calling mode. When I'm in a defending mode, basically people who are defending are most often, very more often, turning their hand face up, because the calling defending ranges of most people are a lot narrower than their betting and bluffing ranges. So by calling and defending, you give off a lot more information than by having the initiative, barreling off, and like hitting some gut shots that you wouldn't call a bet with, but that you might have, because and that is profitable to play because you have full equity all along the end and stuff like that. You decide to 3-bet, gonna go with standard c-bet and see what happens. That's it for now. That's a lot of babbling, so rambling, so I'm gonna try to I'm gonna come back on the subjects for sure, but I'm gonna try to give you a break, guys. Very easy. See, second barrel situation is like the easiest second barrel I've ever made, so no need to elaborate too far on that. And it obviously works. Like I think it's gonna work against everyone in the world. And that is another great example of what initiative can do for you. You probably had a better hand than me for sure, actually. And the only way I can win this hand most of the time is by bluffing. But the truth is, since my range is so tough for him to read because I can have so many stuff and I could have the nuts and I could have air, but at the same time, since I could have the nuts, he doesn't want to call me down and stuff like that. That's what goes through the mind of someone who's trying to defend and check call and stuff like that. He just has to give up very often, and fold equity is such a big part of poker, of in general. So important that, yeah, that's pretty much it. Here, kind of debating between barreling off and not barreling off. I think I'll go ahead and try it, even though I don't have any draws, whatever. That's pretty much the worst card that could have fallen. I was about to say I might have the best hand if he has a draw, and I'm pretty sure I can make him fold a 10 by the river. Now, if he had a draw, he got there. I could have probably would have folded 10 on the turn. He could have 10-9 if he has that. So I basically make him fold ace 10 by the river. That's pretty much it. And I don't know about that guy too much. I don't know if he can fold a queen to a river bed there. So probably would have folded such a weak queen. But I didn't know that was in his calling pre-flop range. I've assumed the king queen and ace queen were a bigger part of his pre-flop calling range. So that's some good info to take in note about that guy. Defense very wild from the blind, so he's likely to not be a great player, just second overall, check call a lot. Just by this hand and by the fact that he defends that hand, I can assume a lot of things about him, actually. And yeah, about full equity, a lot of times, like I said, when both people flop nothing, guy with initiative usually wins the hand. But that's also true when both people flop like a good draw, but not like a monster draw. Something like a flush draw with 2 undercards, or I don't know, an open-ender. The guy with the initiative can very easily like barrel off his ass with the full equity. It's making that super profitable, while the other guy cannot necessarily call with pretty much the same hand and the same quote-unquote value of the end. Here I'm gonna try to just abuse this guy. He doesn't look very good. I have position anywhere deep, so I'm gonna be 3-betting pretty much everything and just put a lot of pressure on him. Try to make you see what happens. Here, pretty much the same thing, but I don't have position, and this guy just looks like kind of guy who's not gonna fold a pair ever from what I've seen earlier. So it's probably not as good an idea to try to put too much pressure on him, basically. I think it's better that guy, because I do have a lot more room for my bluffs too. I wanted to say something else, just a second. No, I think that's pretty much it. I did have in my notes that with the initiative, you pretty much get to showdown when you won a lot more often than when you don't have initiative. When you just want to say, let go to showdown with like medium pair and see if it's good. But upon second thought, I think that's a lot truer with position than the initiative, actually. Although it sure is too. If you have both, most of the time you can control the action, and that's why playing from the cutoff and the button is so powerful. Because you very often both have initiative and position, and it makes it so tough for your opponent to defend. And you can just control all the flow, sizing, control size of the pot, and pretty much all that. What I wanted to say too is, how do you counter that? if initiative is so powerful, because you do have to have calling ranges pre-flop. You cannot go ahead and 3-bet everything, especially when you go up in limits, because people are getting better and they just won't let themselves like getting 3-bet and then call out of position and check fold every flop or every turn or whatever. So you can call a lot pre-flop and you can dunk lead, and I'm gonna go into dunk leading a bit. What dunk leading does basically, when you look at it, people just don't do it as often. I'm gonna check here. I think with a board this dry, just a second. The board this dry, when he checks 2 times, let's say he checks flop and turn, he's more likely to have nothing than like some. So I'm gonna check and try to steal the turn. It actually could be like value bet against a draw there too, which is cool. I think I can, like, if the river breaks, if he calls river breaks, I can win the hand a good percentage of time, because he looks like a guy who's gonna have a lot of draws in his pre-flop calling range on that board. So it's kind of protection too. I don't want it to hit like a random pair on the river if I check back. So yeah, coming back to dunk leading, just a quick thought on that. For those of you who struggle with that, just look at it as if you were the pre-flop raiser. There is no need, like, there is a convention that you usually, I'll go ahead and probably dunk lead if the flop comes well there. Yeah, there is a convention that you usually check to the pre-flop raiser, but when you think about it in reality, like what I'm doing right now, there's no reason for me to check. And actually, my small blind calling range is more often than not a lot stronger than his button raising range. So when I dunk lead from the blinds after calling, I'm supposed to have a lot of respect against a lot of players, actually, against most players, especially that time around. Since the last time I dunk lead, I made it with a set, so he's likely to believe me if he has nothing. And against a lot of guys who are just multi-tablers or not used to getting dunk lead on, it's just as powerful basically as raising and c-betting. It's just like a c-bet, and you have to know how people will react to it. Only way of knowing, of course, is to test them, test your regulars at your limit, and see how they react to dunk leading. Another good spot, I think, for a dunk lead, I can, like, if I check raise, I think I'm gonna check raise actually because of this guy, because this guy is gonna c-bet a lot, and this guy is gonna call a lot, and I'm gonna look strong if I check raise there. And I'm ready to go broke. 2. This could be total bluff. So I'm gonna go ahead and check raise that. Good full equity and a good draw too. I don't think these two guys are ever. This guy's pretty much dead. This guy's most of the time didn't flop anything, so there's not much value trying to get other people in the hand. And I do want to hand the hand pretty quick because I'm out of position, so I think check raising was definitely the best play there. I raised him a lot, so I'm gonna just let him back. And yeah, what I was saying about dunk leading, you sure want to see how people react to that and test people, like I said. But once you do that, you're gonna find that it's pretty much the same, like I said, as c-betting, raising and c-betting, except that you almost have a stronger range of hands. And even though you're out of position, it's like you raise a cutoff and the button calls, you can go ahead and like 3-barrel bluff a lot of stuff, or just like 3-barrel value top pair against someone who never believes a dunk lead. Thing is, people react so weirdly to dunk leads that most of them have very, very big flaws in their dunk lead reactions ranges, and you can exploit that by getting used to the situation of dunk leading or getting dunk lead, basically yourself dunk leading, and then adapt to how your opponents adapt himself to that. So that's pretty much it. I'm gonna go ahead and comment a bit more on the pokers that I'm playing right now, because like I said, that was a lot of thinking, a lot of talking. And if you have any trouble dunk leading, it's tough. I have pretty hard time just finding examples on top of my head, and I didn't want to make a theory video because my examples pretty much suck most of the time. But if you have any question, any examples, post them in the thread. Come back to me with that, and I'm gonna go ahead and answer any of your questions about initiative or dunk leading or any stuff like that. Here, that guy re-raised me minimum. I don't have any read. I haven't played a hand against him yet, but that's just super weird, and I do have an ace in position, so I decided to take a flop, which is pretty close actually. I could have folded. It's almost better, I think, to fold there, but whatever. I decided not to fire the flop because I think if he has like ace king no spades, he's gonna check the turn pretty much every time, and he could be checking the turn with the flop with a big N, and I'm getting check raised. So I'm checking back the flop with the intention of making him fold his like rare air on the turn if he checks again, because I don't think he's ever gonna slow play two streets, and I don't think he's ever gonna check like aces two streets there, just because the board is so dry. So that's pretty much it for that. I think the delayed bluff was a much better idea. So here I'm gonna have to defend, and I'm not gonna have initiative. And what's gonna happen most of the time is that I'm gonna call, I'm gonna flop something like middle pair of eights, and I'm gonna have to call one street and then fold to the other one. I did not flop anything, but once again, I do not have any option there. If the guy bets, I could like go ahead on a big bluff and try to represent the 7, try to make him fold what could be a very big hand that he could have. But truth is that's very risky, and since I don't know if he's ever gonna fold like a jack even, that's about even 200 big blinds deep, because I represent so little on that board. I don't have any more options than to fold. And if he had anything at all there, he just won a pretty nice spot. And most of the time we just missed that flop, both of us, if he's 3-betting at least a bit wide with his range. So that's a pretty good example of how many pots you can win just by taking the initiative pre-flop, by 3-betting, by raising, by dunk leading. When you dunk lead, you still have the initiative for turn and river, and you can barrel off. You can take a gut shot and barrel flop turn river with it against a guy that you know is not going to call 3 streets without something really good. Hello, Jiggy, adding some thoughts after the video. I wanted to talk about something, kind of forgot it. Uh, that is Isildur. I don't know if you guys watched him play, but I watched him play a bit, and what he does basically is just take the initiative on every single hand he plays. He doesn't care much about position. He cares much more about initiative than position. That's my guess. I could be wrong. That's what I feel from his game. And what he does is just either raise on the button or like 3-bet every single hand ends up, and then fire off 3 streets pretty much no matter what happens. When he like shuts down, when he checks or whatever, it's more often to just give up, and he's pretty much never ever putting himself in a check calling mode and like in a defensive mode. He's always on attack. And when you look at that in a total vacuum, forget about ends, forget about ranges or whatever, someone who is betting flop, turn, and river in a hand of poker is gonna win the hand a fucking huge percentage of the time. Uh, no matter where. Just try it at home, drop down to any limit, and bet flop, turn, river on every single hand, you give yourself three chances to win the hand basically, and you put your opponent in such a tough spot because even the best players in the world seem to have a tough time at hold them. I'm not talking about Homa because he got kind of crushed at Homa, but at hold them, he just pretty much never loses, and he crushes even the best players in the world because even those have a tough time defending against someone who just has initiative on every single hand. It's just either he's doing it as a bluff or for
So
thin
yeah,
value or
that's
for
that
value or
just
whatever.
thoughts
He's super
out of my
bright,
head
super
about
super
that.
good to
That's
do
pretty
that,
much it. Just
and it's
test
very advanced.
everything that I told you, and
But
just
it
remember,
comes back
guys,
to
that
taking the initiative and then
it is
betting
okay
until
against a
you
lot
win
of
the hand,
players to
basically.
re-raise stuff
And
like king
if you
queen.
get the
Let's say
chance
in
to
that
see him play
situation,
Hold'em,
uh,
look at him and look at
a
how
lot of
he
coaches, a
does
lot
it
of
and
pros
how
advocate never
powerful
re-raising
if you
king queen
master
because king queen
that
does so
concept
well
it can become.
by calling
It's
there.
just totally
But
insane. Just wanted to add
if
that.
you're
So
against someone who's never forbidding
yeah,
you,
that's it.
then and you pretty much never have to like three bet fold your king queen, re-raising king queen for value and taking the initiative is more than fine. It's a lot better actually because you win a lot bigger pots. You're in position. You're gonna crush some of his calling range. Everything else. He called pretty quick the flop, so most of the time it's gonna be pretty weak. I think a second barrel's in order. I think I can make him fold pretty much any pocket pair, medium pocket pair there, and I do have outs. Just straight or 9 or 10 could be good. I kind of was afraid of that, that he check raises me, probably as a jack, and I don't think I have the odds now to try and spike my 9-10. I decided to bet the turn because I think he's a pretty low level thinker. I think against a higher level thinker here, the best play by far would be to check the turn because I could still represent something like aces, kings, or queens on the river if I do miss, and I could hit a very well disguised draw with a 7 or queen. Uh, because I'm that deep, I'm gonna be checking aces a lot, and if I'm against someone that knows that, I can make him fold a medium pair on the river no matter what. But against this guy, I think when I check the turn, he's gonna think that I'm full of shit every single time I bet the river if everything misses, and he's gonna call me with pretty much every single one of his pairs. So I think betting the turn against that guy was a better idea, just because of how I think he sees the game of poker and he reads ends. Worst situation happened, he checked me. I like there's not that much merit into taking my free card there, especially given the fact that even if I hit, it might not be the nuts. Like if I hit 7, any spades, queen 7 of spades, I can't put like 200 big blinds there. And if I hit a queen, I could run to jack queen, lose a big pot. So taking my hand to get the most full equity out of it, I think was a better way of seeing that. The best way of seeing that. And yep. I talked a lot. Like, all I said tonight is true when you put all that with hand reading and you put hand reading. I had a comment about someone who didn't like how I say hand read, so I'm going to put much more emphasis on the H, hand reading. I think hand reading is very important. And everything, like, it's two separate videos, but you have to put all that to one body of work, which is an expression that Samo uses a lot. And I think it sounds cool, body of work. And when you do understand all these things, that's very theoretical what I said, and tough to apply in practice right off the bat, right away after I've talked about that. But when you do understand how everything I've talked about works, you're gonna see a lot more spots. You're gonna see a lot of dead meat, dead value in pots that you were not seeing before. And true it is at these stakes, you're not, if you try to like get the initiative or steal the initiative, you're not gonna get stealed a lot by other players. Like you raise pre-flop and you c-bet, you're not gonna get your c-bet raised too often. Most of the time, unless someone flop two pairs plus or a big draw. And I think that's still true at like 25, 50, 50, $51. 1-2, it might be getting a bit more aggressive. I haven't played any 1-2 in a while. But most of the time, the guy who steals the initiative first basically has it for the rest of the end, and that's a trap that you don't want to fall into. You want to be able to raise c-bets and give yourself more options by dunk leading and doing stuff like that, just to use your full equity to a maximum. Take advantage of every single time your opponent cannot stand big bets and cannot call down, does not want to put too much money in the pot. That's so cool. King 7 clubs. King 7 clubs. You have to take advantage of that, and you have to put pressure, and you have to take as much dead money as you can, in my opinion, because that's pretty much the only way I know how to play poker, basically. I think I'm not a poor defender, but I'm never as good of a defensive poker player as I am an aggressive poker player. So that's what I'm teaching you, and that's why I'm trying to teach you that, guys. And I'm gonna re-raise again that guy. I think I do have to build every single pot as soon as I have anything decent, because he's just snapping out of position, and I'm gonna win so many pots just like that. If he doesn't have anything, don't think he's gonna bluff in this high dry board there. So I'm gonna win that a lot. And I just want to build the pots when I'm in position, hoping to flop something, hoping to whatever. It took some time before calling. I don't know if I can barrel off. I think he has an ace way too often, and he's never ever folding an ace there, especially with all the aggression that I've shown so far. So I'm gonna have to believe him and assume that he's not bluffing me. Probably had it anyway. So it's gonna go wrong though. Times when it's gonna go like the worst, like tonight. Basically, I did not win that many pots while talking, guys, but is when your opponents flop big and flop a lot, and that's very, very subtle form of variance, actually. Very sneaky form of variance. You think you're getting played back, and you think you're getting just crushed by everyone, but most of the time you're just getting crushed by your opponent's decks. And it takes great confidence in your own play and great confidence in your reads to know when you're getting playback and to know when you're getting crushed by your opponent's decks, because you are gonna be putting so much pressure. You are gonna think that everyone's playing back at you, but most of the time they just always have it, and it's tough to make the difference between the two. So that comes with time too, and with practice. That guy is probably a reg from Australia, so he probably plays weird, because everyone from Australia plays fucking weird. But he's on 2 tables, and he has a reg screen name, if there's such a thing. Unfortunately, not that many interesting spots so far, as far as the actual content of the video of my 2 tables. Seriously, there's not much happening. I don't think I could have tried to make much more stuff happen. But yeah, to keep on talking about the sneaky form of variance that is like running into the nuts every time. That's tough. That's really tough. That's actually the thing that tilts me the most, I think, when I try to bluff my opponents, and I'm just running into like all my bluffs into the nuts every single time, and it's gonna happen, and it must not discourage you guys, because when your opponents stop flopping, and when on the reverse side your opponents just always are on the low side of their flopping range, let's say, uh, it's gonna go so well, and you're gonna feel like the king of the world, and you're gonna think that uh, what DrGiggy said is so awesome because initiative is giving free monies every single pot every single time I play, and you have to make nuances and to know when, like, what's the normal amount of flopping that your opponents are gonna do, and work from there, and not overreact when you're getting too much playback, or like never playback. There are some players that are never gonna playback you, so you can overreact there and just run over them. But anyone still has kind of a breaking point where they start playbacking. So I hope that if I stop talking, something interesting is gonna happen. Yoo-hoo! That worked. That worked pretty well, actually. Your sound was not broken. I was just not talking. I did go ahead and make that 3 barrel for first the board, because of the board, how it played out, and second, a lot because of timing tells that this villain gave me there. I don't have any read on the guy, but I'm just gonna assume he's very bad because he does not reload. So that's a read that I can have right away. So I'm against someone bad here. I raise, standard. He calls, standard. I see bet that. Everything so far is pretty standard. I go ahead and try and decide to second barrel that because his call flop was so fast. I thought he was pretty weak, and I do think he's gonna have some weak shit in his range there, quite a lot. Here I could try for the very sexy set mining, but it's not so sexy because it costs a lot, and I could get set over set if money starts shipping in. These guys look like maniacs. Too bad it didn't have any hands against them to make money. But yeah, apart from that stupid flush draw that yeah, raped me in the anal, basically. But yeah, I decide to second barrel because of his timing on the flop. And even though I do know I'm not gonna get that many folds on the turn, uh, as far as my hand reading goes, it's gonna be very tough for me to put him on a very precise range. There are some players, some tighter players that are gonna have like almost always a pocket pair there, or like almost always ace 3, ace 2, ace 4, ace 5, and not that many nines, maybe like ace 9 suited and 9 10 suited, and they're not calling with anything else. That's true for some players, but this guy, I don't have any clue. So I'm just gonna assume, like, generally that he's pretty weak because he called so fast on the flop. So I decide to 2 barrel, knowing that I have a good stack to 3 barrel him, and knowing that I'm gonna get a lot of folds, if not on the turn, on the river. And once again, I flop absolutely nothing. I'm gonna try to c-bet once again, see what happens for a change. And it works that time. I think I could do that. Just sit there and raise every single one of its opens and c-bet and show a profit out of it actually against a guy who's just calling with like everything is opening with. But back to that hand, I'm gonna finally describe it. I decided that I was gonna getting a lot of folds on the turn or river, and that's a good example of a spot where I have absolutely nothing. And if I don't have an initiative first hand and that end, there is no way in the world that I can give myself a profitable bet on the flop. If you take all three bets separately, my bet is going to show profit on the flop, it's going to show a profit on the turn, it's going to show a profit on the river in the long run, I think. So all that put together, I'm going to win that hand pretty fucking often. Any overcard gives me the end like instantly, and even not an overcard, a lot of ways that the board turns out that gives me the hand. So I bet the flop. He calls pretty quick. I bet the turn. He did take like a couple of seconds before calling, just like someone who's hesitating a bit there with like I don't know, ace four. Was like, should I call another bet? Yeah, I think I'm gonna call another bet, or like nine with a weak kicker, 9-7 or something like that, which I assume are in his range because he does not look like a good player and more likely to be calling station. He could have like 5-6 to a lot, 5-3, a couple of two pairs, but not that many two pairs. That's another good point. Like 5-4 is a combo of two pair, maybe 2-4 and 2-5. I don't know. That's pretty much it. So there are not any like strong hands in his range. I'm gonna go for the delayed C bet. I think if he checks back that flop, he's giving up most of the time on that draw. Even flop, pretty much never has top pair, and often has nothing at all. So like I do have a bit more info when I do that, and I think I can bet the river and make him fold a mid pocket pair or a 10 there. The queen is kind of a scare card for him. I do have to go pretty big, I think. Just because I'm trying to make him fold something that he's trying to get to showdown, and he's not a high level thinker in my mind. So the bigger my bet, the more folds it's gonna receive, and he pretty much probably rivered like ace jack jack 9, or any two pair queen 10, king queen probably not, but probably rivered one of those. I just wanted to make him fold all of his tens, which I think are very likely because he checked back the flop and did not bet. And something like 8-8, 9-9, ace 4 for that matter, that he's not folding on turn any 4. So I very fine with my bluff there. But yeah, I'm gonna finally end that one. I decided to bet and ship the river, because that's a pretty good sizing for me, like just more than the pot, so it looks very strong to a low level thinker, I think. And I mean, I don't have any read, so I'm making assumptions, but I assume that he probably can fold a 9 there. Like most guys who don't buy in full are often cautious with their money, and they're gonna fold a 9 there to a small overbet on that river, on that board, the way the end played out. So I use my initiative from the pre-flop to win a pot with absolutely nothing at all and no draw, and make a profitable bet on every street. I did not consider that putting myself into a spots and getting deeper in the spot street by street. I consider that making profit on every my bet, to be honest. This table, I did not pay that much attention to the tables, but this tables looked very, very wild, and too bad I did not get anything to, except once again that fucking set that fucking fucked me, to make money there. And it's been 47 minutes, and it's been a lot of talking from me, guys, and I think I'm gonna end that. Actually, I'm gonna give both tables a last chance to redeem themselves and give me a big hand on the button, and I'm gonna play both buttons.
Okay, no matter what, I'm gonna play that button. I'm gonna steal initiative on that button and try to do something out of it on the next end. And then I'm gonna end that video. End the video hand reading. End the video hand reading. Still working on my pronunciation. And it's going wild once again. People are going all in with straight and double belly and the flush draw, which is pretty standard, I guess. 7-5, exactly the kind of hand that I wanted to see. And oh, I do not like the fact that he raises to 4, because he's been making it 3 before. So I'm gonna go smaller, just because I said that I was gonna steal initiative, so I'm gonna try the tricky play of going smaller. And I'm gonna do that here as well, which is super fine in my opinion. And I'm gonna c-bet for a change to 12 into 20 and hope he did not flop anything. So once again, easy monies won by the power of initiative. That's probably not good to re-raise there, but that was a promise that I made to you guys. So especially against an under the gun opener, I'm gonna get 4 bet a lot by all of his big hands. But when I flop full house, it's pretty cool. So I am gonna c-bet. He's not expecting that. Doesn't know that he's gonna run into a full house. That's not a good card actually, unless he made the flush. Because it's gonna get a lot of folds, I think. It's a big scare card for him for his range. I expect him with his pre-flop timing to have something like 10s or jacks a lot. But if he does have the 10 or jack of hearts, he's certainly not folding to that. So I'm gonna still go ahead and go for maximum value. Here, probably not profitable to call. I just made that to be funny, but it ended up not working. And that's the worst piece of shit river that I've ever seen. But I'm gonna go ahead and value bet it anyways. I don't think there are any kings in his range. Could have an 8. I don't think it's that likely. So I just hope, like he said, he has some like 10s, jacks, maybe queens even, because he's under the gun, and decides to not believe me on the river. I'm gonna shove now. Don't snap! Alright, I'm good. It's DrGiggy, he's such a maniac. He's probably bluffing. Bluffing. DrGiggy is bluffing. 18 seconds to call. 15 seconds to call. I'm gonna call with jacks. Call with jacks. Call with jacks. Ship it. 10s. Just a bit off. And that was another good example of him being in a very dirty spot against an aggressive opponent because I stole him the initiative pre-flop. Even though it's like theoretically it's not that good to steal the initiative with 6s there, and I made it because I made a promise to you guys. It still put him in a dirty spot because he was in a calling mode, and it's very often something that's gonna get you in trouble. And that's a good moral to end on for this video. So it was the doctor of DrGiggy telling you good night and be aggressive, my friends. Take your fold equity, don't lead into people, try new stuff, think while you play.